Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And today is the 7th of June. It's Shabbat, and it's about 7:30 in the morning or so. Let me check. No, it's almost 8 o'clock. It's 7:55. Okay, 54, something like that. Okay, today we're going to talk about China and Iran. We're going to talk about the Elon Musk Trump problem with a very bad new development regarding the Epstein situation. And we're going to talk about Israel and Iran and America and Iran and the nuclear treaty that's non-existent and Trump's nonsense and making believe he's got a treaty talk going with Iran and all this stuff. So we'll get into it. We're also going to get into what it'll take for NATO to move into Ukraine and defend it against Russia, and we may be getting there. Okay, I'm not talking about them attacking Russia. I'm talking about them going into Ukraine to defend Ukraine from Russia. And I think we could be getting to that point pretty quick. That they will do. And what Russia will do, if they do that, we have to see. Don't know, but Russia will get their head handed to them if they try something like this. So, okay, I'm going to go into the live stream now and make sure everything is good. Okay. Let's see how our sound and picture is. How's the sound? Testing. Let's see how our sound and picture is. We got plenty. Okay. I did a cut and paste on my post, so that's all done. We've got moderators here. Thank you to the moderators. And people are coming in, and let's do some praise, being a Bible-believing site. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so Iran and China. China is giving Iran components to make about 800 ballistic missiles. So China is fulfilling its obligations to Iran. Of course, Iran is giving China oil, which China desperately needs. And they're, I'm sure, not paying any attention to Trump's sanctions whatsoever, both of them. So Trump was putting further sanctions on the shipping companies that were transporting the oil, as if the shipping companies care. All they do is bring oil from Iran to China and go back and forth, so they could care less. So, everybody thinks Trump and the sanctions is such a big deal, and they defeat it. Russia defeats it, China defeats it, North Korea defeats it, Iran defeats it, everybody defeats it, It's, what a lot of you understand is Trump has failed. And tell me where he hasn't failed. I'll tell you. Has he closed the border in America? Yes. Has he done anything else that's worth anything in America? He's deported a certain small amount of illegal aliens, and he busted up the Venezuelan gangs. Has he done anything else? I can't think of anything. Has he made Greenland a state? No. Has he made Canada a state? No. Has he made Mexico a state? No. Does he got any kind of a good tariff deal with China other than a very temporary one that's going to blow up again? No. Did he make a tariff deal with the European Union? No. Did he make a tariff deal with any substantial country of any sort? No. What about Mexico, Canada, the UK? No. Don't you get it? What about all those countries he just visited? UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar investing $5 trillion in America. Yeah, okay. Over how many years? And has any of them even sent $1 million to America yet? Probably not. What about his Golden Dome? That takes 3 years. You also know it's probably going to be heavily based on Israel's laser defense weapon system they call the Iron Beam. You know that. That's the only make sense thing to do. But it won't take 3 years. It will probably take much longer. He vowed to get rid of Obamacare when he was in his first term of office. He still hasn't done it even in his second term. It's a real crappy, lousy, awful plan. He's never gotten rid of it. Is he doing any stimulus to the public after saving all this money with DOGE? No. I haven't heard a single thing. Other than silly rumors, nothing. You see your taxes getting cut? I don't. You see him getting rid of the Federal Reserve Bank? I don't. Has he accomplished the ceasefire deal with Gaza and Israel? No. What about Hezbollah and Israel? No. What about Yemen and Israel, the Houthis? No. What about Iran and Israel? No. What about his nuclear deal with Iran? Nothing. Trump backed down from the Houthis. And now you're going to see Trump back down from the Iranians. I think he can't get anything out of them. because they know he's weak. They know he's afraid to fight. Trump's a businessman. He doesn't understand war. But what we're learning now is Trump doesn't understand tariffs either. Any jackass can sit there and say, don't worry, this is going to work. It's just going to take time. Pull your belt in. Really? Really? All the nations have gotten together and opposed him. Wake up. The guy's failing. Now, was Biden any good? No, Biden was a complete disaster. What about Obama? He was a double disaster. But you had presidents that did better jobs than this Trump. I mean, Trump's headed for impeachment. And Musk may be the one to give it to him. So what happened? Well, we know that Musk came out and said the reason the Epstein files have not been released is because Trump's name's all over it. All popping up in there. So is it hard for you to believe that Trump's one of them? Gosh, he's a billionaire president's second term in the United States. And what do you think? He's just an innocent guy? He's a stone cold Satan bot like the rest of them. Okay? Right down to George Washington the Mason. It started right there with him and Ben Franklin. He's on the $1 bill and Franklin's on the $100 bill. Two Satan bot Masons. Come on, wake up already. This is the age that's ending, and this is the age where there's no light, it's all darkness. Okay? This is the night when no man can work, but it's closing out. It ends with everlasting life and redemption and the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds. But, so, what Trump's lawyer told him that got leaked out publicly for some reason is that Trump should pardon that woman Maxwell, Madeline Maxwell or something, I'm not so sure it's a she, was the right hand of Epstein, his assistant, that was getting underage victims, to play games, to do perverted things in the Epstein organization. Okay? So, this one got sentenced to jail, a long time in jail. So, what do we see? Knock, knock, wake up. Elon Musk spills the beans on Trump and Epstein. There's pictures of Trump with Epstein, for crying out loud. And, Trump's friends with all the other jackasses that went to Epstein Island, which nothing happened to them, by the way. And what happens now? He's going to pardon Maxwell? Oh, the right-hand man of Epstein. It presents itself as a female. So, this is a coincidence, huh? No. Trump's scared of something, and he's afraid that this is going to get into an investigation, and somebody's going to go to Maxwell and get Maxwell to spill the beans to get out of jail, reduce the sentence to time served, and that's it. Or maybe light probation, like just don't get convicted of any crimes in the next 3 or 4 years and you're okay, or something like that, right? So what Trump's going to do now is to guarantee Maxwell's silence. Trump's going to pardon Maxwell, the right-hand man to the big pervert with Epstein Island with the mysterious temple and who knows what they did. Okay? And it's his lawyer that says he should do it. Well, why did his lawyer say he should do it? Because Maxwell now could be working with Musk or some other people and go after Trump. Trump has big enemies on a state level. Washington, Oregon, California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, and probably another 3 or 4 states. And when you start adding up California and New York and New Jersey and Illinois, you got a major piece of the United States population. Probably you get about a third of the population. When you add in Washington and Oregon and stuff, that's a big problem for Trump. And it can be the ruler against ruler in Jeremiah 50:51 emerging. Although Musk is technically not a ruler, Musk can work with rulers. Now, when I think about it, what I think Musk is really after is getting himself embedded in the government somehow deeply. Okay? I don't think he could get rid of Trump and then be president directly. But I think he could work with people to get rid of Trump that would make him something big in the government. Like what? Well, Secretary of Treasury or something like that. Or he could revamp the Federal Reserve or, some big financial thing. I don't think that anybody would seriously put Musk in as the Secretary of Defense or Homeland Security or anything like that. Okay, or Justice Department. Nor would they put him in Education or Food and Drug Administration or, any of that stuff. It would be economic. So that would take us to the Treasury, probably. Or something else. He could become a economic advisor to the next president. Now, J.D. Vance, he went to J.D. Vance, Musk did, to try to get his support against Trump, and J.D. Vance politely and firmly turned him down. So if they do get a move going to throw Trump out, now Musk is saying later this year there's going to be a recession in the United States. Now you got to understand something, okay? You might not understand that there's going to be a recession later this year in the United States, but it really is the truth. Due to his tariffs and sanctions and all the other garbage he's throwing around the world. Okay? It's going to catch up and hit. And this $5.2 trillion investment from these 3 Arab countries, it ain't going to show up for a long time, if ever. If ever. Okay? All right? So, yeah. Trump's going to tell everybody, just tighten your belts. You think people want to hear that from this guy? He's telling the people money is coming in from tariffs. Did he give us any figures? No. Why not? Because they're not impressive. Why did Trump turn on Musk? I don't know. It could be that Trump just really saw it's stupid to keep funding Musk and his programs, and told Musk, I can't do it. It's too stupid. I'm going to lose Congress. And, and Musk was, well, you're not supposed to do that. I don't, it could be. The girls are having a cat fight. So why would Trump all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, want to pardon Maxwell other than a threat level from Musk? That could get Trump impeached for moral turpitude, for being a pervert, okay? And concealing it from the government. In other words, he came out and said, well, Melania is a pervert and she does, full nude pornographic work in magazines, but she is beautiful, isn't she? So he was in full disclosure about Melania. You understand? He wasn't just doing it to be cute. He did it to be in full disclosure, so this doesn't come back and bite him down the road. Then he got involved with this prostitute that's of a questionable gender, and that whole debacle, as you remember, took place in New York, right? Okay. And now comes the Epstein thing, and all of a sudden we're seeing a pardon being spoke of by Trump's lawyer for Maxwell. Apparently Maxwell's not dead. Is Epstein dead? They say he's dead. Could I tell you any more than that? No, they say he's dead. I can't take it any further than that. Do I know he's dead? Am I convinced he's dead? No. Do I know he's not dead? No. I don't know one way or the other. Just because they say things doesn't mean it's real. Might we see Maxwell suicide out or something happen to Maxwell in the coming days? Sure. Could see it. I don't think so. It would have happened. Maxwell might have been told, just keep your mouth shut for a few months. It'll blow over and Trump will pardon you. Or not. And now Trump is seeing a big threat there. See, the attorney generals of Oregon, Washington, and California have united against Trump. They might have some way to go after Trump criminally. Now, these were not the governors, these were the attorney generals. That is normally referred to as the most powerful law enforcement officer in a state. Okay? Now, why was it them, not the governors, you see? Why the government? Why them? Because they're probably intent on prosecuting Trump on something. If they get him on something he did when he was not a seated president, he does not have immunity. So he has immunity when he was president for 4 years, and he has immunity for the previous 6 months. Although that immunity can be attacked and brought into question based on deception, deceit, lying, engaging in blatant criminal activities, and like espionage or sabotage or sedition against the country, stuff like that. Right? But generally, that's a rough road to go down to try to say he has no entitlement for immunity while he's the seated president. But when you could find things he did, like before he ever was a president the first time, and tied to Epstein, he has not a leg to stand on. And that could get him yanked out of office. Remember, they've been trying to get this guy locked up for the longest time. Okay? Is Trump weak now? Oh, yeah. He's real weak. He ain't delivering, guys. And his own Republicans in the House, House of Representatives and the Senate, they know recession is coming. And they may not be welcoming it. And the Federal Reserve Bank wants to get rid of this Trump guy. That's a powerful position. Those people are powerful. They're really in the private sector, and they're powerful. I don't know if Trump has fully purged the federal employees that hate his guts yet. I doubt it. They might have dirt on Trump. I don't know. And like I told you yesterday, what's Trump's best move now, other than pardoning Maxwell, to get the loyalty of this Madeline, I think her name, Maxwell, so she keeps her mouth shut, and she just gets out of jail free with a pardon, so she doesn't have to ever worry about going back to jail for that. Oh, actually, she does. The pardons only work on a federal level. So if a state decided to charge Maxwell with something, like the state of New York, for instance, where Epstein and her were carrying on, they could charge Maxwell and the pardon wouldn't hold. But I don't think they have enough evidence, and I'm not thinking that's going to happen. It could. See, these 3 attorney generals are probably going to hook up with another 4 or 5 attorney generals that hate Trump. And you're going to see there'll be something like 7, 8, or 9 of them or something like that running around, gunning for Trump. And they're not going to gun for Trump for things he did in his 6 months in office. They're going to gun for Trump for things he did when he was not a seated president. And he has no leg to stand on with immunity. Nothing. Being a candidate for president gives you no immunity. Trump's starting to investigate Biden with the automatic pen signing. He's thinking that they were playing Biden as a puppet, and he was so far gone mentally he didn't know what was going on, and they were just using this automatic signing pen to make executive orders and stuff like that, that Biden was so far gone he didn't even know what was going on. I mean, the guy couldn't find his way off the stage. And I don't think it was an eyesight issue. Although that could account for it, but in plenty of other situations, his eyesight seemed fine. Eyesight's not intermittent, it's on or off all the time. So it doesn't seem to have been an eyesight issue. It seems to be Biden was Looney Tunes. So now he's going after Biden. Well, what's going to happen when he goes after Biden is he's going to find some people that were holding high-ranking government positions in the Biden administration that were using this signature machine to get things done, probably as executive orders, that Biden didn't have any idea he was doing. They could go to jail for this. Things could be overturned because of this if Trump wants to push it. So the best thing Trump could do to get out of this now, in my opinion, the way these Satan bots work, is to have a war with Iran. But that scares the daylights out of Trump because he knows how seriously bad that's going to be. But he may not have a choice. Having a war with China is worse than Iran. Having a war with Russia is worse than Iran. Both China and Russia have serious airplanes, serious navies. They could easily strike an American homeland a lot easier than Iran. He's not going to go that route. So if he pardons Maxwell, shuts down that flow of information, and goes to war with Iran, everybody's going to be worrying about the war with Iran, and they're not going to worry about all this stupid stuff with Elon Musk. And Elon Musk could go out into the, wherever he came from and go try to run his businesses, whatever he's going to do. Elon Musk is no good for the people. He wants government subsidies for research and development. He wants billions of dollars being paid to him so he can keep getting richer. Elon Musk did nothing. The position he was in with Doge, finding fraud in Social Security and other government agencies, that the type of person you use for that is a criminal investigator that's a forensic accountant, which means they're an accountant that investigates criminal fraud, embezzlement, things like that. Okay? The FBI is full of such accountants. So the Justice Department has them. They have lawyers. Lawyers know how to do this too. So why the heck did he pick Musk? He picked Musk to bring him in, elevate him, and they got along, and now they don't get along. Obviously. Trump's saying now he's going to sell his Tesla. Well, if he does that, somebody's likely to pay $500,000 for it because it's Trump's Tesla and he drove it. So somebody might buy it for a fortune and it'll backfire. So I'm not so sure he'll sell it. He might give it away to some charity or something. I don't know. He probably won't do that. I don't know what he's going to do. The Russians offered Elon Musk political asylum. I'm serious. This really happened yesterday. Why would they do that? Do they know something that we don't know? Maybe. Was it half of a joke? Because they were just making a comment, Trump is so mean and vindictive, Musk, he'll come after you. But if he does, don't worry, you could have political asylum here. There was offers also of a job for him. Well, they just want him to come over there and spill the beans. I don't think Musk sees a way to go with Russia. He's not that stupid. And I don't think Trump's in a position to put him in prison because he'll talk a lot more about Trump. So Musk is definitely interested in getting rid of Trump for probably multiple reasons. One being Trump's not funding his projects like they probably thought Trump would or agreed Trump would. And Elon Musk is peeved because he spent 6 months or roughly 6 months working with this Doge stuff. And Trump slaps him in the face. So we got a real enemy on the loose here, a loose cannon going after Trump. Okay? Now, Russia, let's switch. Russia is starting to get way more aggressive with Ukraine. Let's downplay getting more aggressive, more missiles, more drones, more stuff like that. Okay? So let's see if this is temporary blowback for Ukraine destroying the bombers, 40 or so bombers, or is this going to keep going and increasing by the week? If so, you're going to see Russia begin to overrun Ukraine. So the weapons dumping from the NATO countries will probably go a little bit more enhanced on an emergency basis, although it's quite hot and heavy right now. And if it keeps up where Russia is making steady gains against Ukraine, you will see NATO put soldiers into Ukraine, and the alibi for that is going to be there's too much bloodshed, we need a ceasefire. Okay? And we're sending our soldiers in there, NATO soldiers, to force a ceasefire from Ukraine. And then they'll get a statement from Ukraine, yes, I'll agree to a ceasefire. It could be a 6-week ceasefire, a 6-month, anything just to shut the fighting down. They don't want to see Putin conquer Ukraine and then have a huge buffer zone. Oh, like maybe it's 3,000 miles or something. A huge buffer zone to insulate them more from NATO and Europe. Because then Russia moves into Ukraine, puts missiles there, aircraft, drones, radar, blah, blah, blah. And they're very close to NATO countries and European Union countries, yet NATO and Europe are now further away from Russia in the sense they can no longer use Ukraine. So they're not about to let Russia have this big buffer zone, and they'll stop it. And if providing the weapons isn't going to be enough, then they'll come up with this, we got to give peace a chance. It's too brutal, and, we can't have this, and, it's got to come to an end, And you hear dialogue like this already. I mean, we're hearing this kind of dialogue now. Trump is saying Musk is crazy. He's saying Putin's crazy. See, everybody who doesn't listen to Trump is crazy. Did he say Iran is crazy? Not yet. As far as I know, there is no scheduled peace nuclear treaty talks with Iran and America. As I haven't seen in days anybody all over social media and regular media even mention that there's a date in some countries. So I don't believe there's any more talks. So what is Trump fiddling around about? He's scared of Iran. He's scared of Iran. That's it. That's the long and the short and the tall. He's scared to not do anything about Iran, and he's scared to do something about Iran. Trump's at wit's end. And Netanyahu's spilling things into Trump's ear. And we'll have to see how these two characters go after it. But he's probably going to hide behind Israel and use Israel to start the fight. But this is the snare on America. And America's going to go down. And you could deny it and say Jeremiah 50:51, Isaiah 47 is not the daughter of Babylon, America, but you can't, the evidence is so strong they can't imagine that to be the case. Let's see what's going on here with the live stream. All right, I don't really have any questions. Let's see, there were some prayer requests. Let me get to that. And we got other news to cover too. We have a toss request for 3 people. Toss salad request on 3 people. BH, Bravo Hotel, BH, DH, Delta Hotel, and EC, Echo Charlie. So, toss salad requests for Bravo Hotel, BH, DH, Delta Hotel, and EC, Echo Charlie. Okay. We have a healing request from IF, Idaho Frank, IF. Nausea, healing from nausea. Okay. That's it for the prayer request. So, I don't know what Trump's doing with nuclear stuff. People are saying that war material cargo planes are being moved around to Qatar and Ramstein again and Diego Garcia and into Israel. And I think it's probably true, but that doesn't mean anything. China helping Iran with 800 ballistic missiles production. Some people are saying, oh, that's to attack Israel. No, you don't know that. That could be to attack America, attack American bases, oil-producing countries in the region. It could be they're going to make the missiles and give them to Russia. It could be they're going to make the missiles and give them to the Houthis, or try to smuggle them to Hezbollah, or give them to their militias in Iraq and even in Syria. You don't know. People say, oh, help them with China, with Israel. You don't know that. Iran is involved with killing people all over the place. They are very obsessed with death. So you can't come off and crack wise that it's got to be for Israel. It could be, but doesn't have to be. The lawyer that said this with Trump is Alan Dershowitz. He urged President Trump to pardon Jeffrey Epstein's associate. Her name is Christine Maxwell, sorry. It's Christine Maxwell, not Madeline. Christine Maxwell. Next. And this came from a big British paper called the Daily Mail. Very big one. So this really happened. The Iranians in the last 24 hours had a substantial power outage, not throughout 100% of Iran, but through a lot of Iran. And they never offered any explanation as to what caused this power outage, which is a little atypical for them. So it could have been sabotage by Israel. If Israel is going to attack, you'll see boots on the ground sabotage, which we may have just seen again. You're maybe going to see cyber attacks, okay? You're going to see flights of aircraft and drones and different things collecting reconnaissance information for subsequent attacks. You're probably not going to see just an outright surprise attack. If Israel does knock out the over-the-horizon radar, I don't think Iran has a good enough chance of guiding missiles into Israel, which is over 1,000-mile trip. They don't have a good chance. Now, maybe they've got missiles set up in Iraq and there's radar in Iraq that could do it. So Israel has to be aware of that, which they were the last time and they are this time. And they'll take that radar out as well. Probably before the Iranian radar goes. Syrian radar, there's nothing there. They don't have to worry about anything. And Iran doesn't have that much complete freedom of movement in Syria. Not at all. There's still a lot of blowback from the big bombing we did in Lebanon 2 days ago now, where 4 buildings were destroyed, but I think 9 were damaged. And we were told it was a drone factory. It would have been a heck of a big drone factory. It might have been drones and other weapons and storage thereof, and I don't know. I don't think Israel would just create a cock and bull story. It probably did involve drones. They don't have to create a cock and bull story. They attacked these buildings for a reason, and they weren't attacking them because they were selling Gouda cheese or making pizza there. There was a reason for it. They don't have to lie. Will the Iranians recover from this blackout? I'm quite sure they will. So if Putin does overwhelm Ukraine, which I haven't really seen yet, I've seen him press serious attacks against Ukraine, but overwhelm them and start driving them back and stuff like that, then NATO's going to get in. And then what's Putin going to do? Probably stand down. Putin's not anywhere near as powerful as we were told, that the West was told by NATO and America. Nowhere near as powerful. I'm telling you this like every day. I'm going to tell you again. Earthquakes are up quite noticeably. That's a birth pang in Matthew 24. It's in Luke 21, Mark 13. Okay? And volcanoes are up. There was one in Central America, Guatemala, the other day, Etna, this. They were going all the time now. That's columns of smoke in Mark 13, is the volcanoes. Okay? So they're both up. And there's all kinds of crazy storms going on. Snow expected in places in June. Alaska is scheduled, I think, this coming next week or something, to have a big snowstorm in June. It's summer in Alaska. When you go to Alaska, if you go on a cruise ship to Alaska now, you get plagued by mosquitoes, you know. Taking cruises to Alaska, by the way, is a lousy experience by most people's standards. Most people don't do it again. They stop the boat and you go into little villages that are of no interest, that you never heard of, and they show you totem poles, which are demonic idols, and they expect you to go in the stores and buy stupid gifts, little totem poles or stupid things. You might get fortunate enough and go see the bears fishing for the salmon. Maybe you'll have that one day if you hit the timing right and you get on the right cruise, but they usually, you have to get on a train and it's an overnight thing, It's bad weather, a lot of mosquitoes, it's not good weather. It's not a great place to go for a cruise, guys. It's really a deficient place. I went down to Antarctica once, not literally to Antarctica, but I went to Ushuaia, the bottom of South America, which is cold enough and lousy enough. And let me tell you something, that was a lousy, stinking cruise. It had a few interesting moments, seeing the glaciers with their, blue color and, but it was miserable weather, very rough seas, nothing to do. You couldn't use the jacuzzis. The deck was cold and miserable. I would never do it again. Okay? What I'm saying is cold water cruises stink. Okay? People go to real Antarctica and they spend a lot of money on these cruises. We're talking maybe $20,000 to $40,000. Is the food any good on these cruises? No. It's like a cheap cruise. The food would be like Carnival cheapy cruise on an old Carnival ship or something like that. And the boats are not that comfortable. There's nothing to do. Things get canceled. You're supposed to wear these suits they give you with boots and gloves and hats, and you get on a Zodiac and you get off the ship and they load you onto a Zodiac, and then you get on land, and you're not allowed to touch any animals or really get that close to them. And much of the time you go and you get ready to get on your Zodiac at 10 o'clock after breakfast, and they cancel it because the weather's no good. Now what do? You go back on the boat. Yeah, I mean, cruise ships and cold weather guys stink. They don't mesh together. They stink. They don't work. They keep sucking people in on these things, and they really stink. Okay? Now, you might catch a few days. Usually, your Antarctic is going to be 10 or 14 days after you fly all the way down to the bottom of South America. Okay? And it's not a really great cruise. The entertainment is going to be somebody playing a guitar or a piano while people drink. Um, you know, in the evening, you'll see your tour guide. He'll tell you what they're going to do the next day if the weather holds. And you're going to go someplace and they're going to say, oh, the weather was rough. We had a detour. We didn't go there. Guys, it's extremely expensive and it's extremely lousy. Okay? You don't ever want to take a cold weather cruise unless you're the kind of person that hates the heat, you hate the sun, you hate sweating, you never want to walk around on the deck or jog on the deck for exercise in the sun, you never want to go to a jacuzzi or a swimming pool, you just love being cold. You'll have a good time. If you like rough seas, like 20, 30, 40-foot waves, and you like being cold and miserable and locked up in your cabin, you'll have a great time. Okay? But they're a scam and they're no stinking good and you should never waste your time with them. Okay? Now they have some that go up into the Baltic. And there, if you must go on a cold weather cruise, those would be the better ones, although I don't know a whole lot about them, but you get off in freezing, miserable weather, you could see things that are actually scenic and interesting, but I would never bother with it. The places to go for cruises is Hawaii is a good one, Mexico, the Caribbean, those are all good, okay? You could even go into South America, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't go there. I just wouldn't. They're going to treat you bad. I'd stay away. Okay, Mexico, the tourism in Mexico, you're okay with that. Don't eat or drink anything in Mexico or you're going to get sick probably. But it's all right. Okay, they take you to Merida usually and Cozumel, and it's not that bad. It's not so great, but it's not that bad. They usually have very good shopping, but they're dishonest. You have to be very careful. They'll lie to you and cheat you. The Caribbean is nice. You go to their private islands. You want to go in warm weather, okay? Going to Puerto Rico on a cruise is not bad. Going to the U.S. Virgin Islands or the British Virgin Islands is not a bad stop. Going to Jamaica is a bad stop. They're just a bunch of dope dealers that try to get you to buy drugs. Going to Nassau, Bahamas, and other Caribbean islands is not so bad. You get a beach day, they have a barbecue for you sometimes. It's all right. It's not such a bad, the weather's nice, the water is smooth, it's beautiful. That's the way you should cruise. Now, cruising in the Mediterranean is very nice too because they have a lot of beautiful scenic stops you could go to, and you go when the weather's mild. You don't go in the dead of winter, and that's fun too, And in Asia, there's a lot of things you can see in Asia where there's nice warm weather. You could cruise around Japan and China and different countries over there. And that's nice too. But winter, cold weather cruising, it's a scam. It's for the birds. Now you're going to find people that are going to go there and they're going to see seals and penguins. I did that in Argentina, by the way, without having to go down to Antarctica. But if you do it, and if that's going to make your day, and you're going to say, "Wow, that," you don't have to go there for that. You can go to Argentina and see all the seals you want, and penguins. You can see them there. You don't. I mean, you go to the Bronx Zoo and see the seals. I mean, you know, you might see whales down there, and killer whales, and stuff like that. And if you really have a really strong desire to see that, you might consider flying down there and getting on a tour and bypassing the whole stupid cruise ship and horrible weather thing. Because the seas are so. I was standing when I went down to Ushuaia. And I was going through the Beagle Straits and all that stuff. I was in the shower, okay, and I was holding on to the rail in the shower. It was such rough water. Then the next thing I know, the handle was still in my hand, but it detached itself from the wall. That's how rough it was. Okay? The waves were easily 30 feet plus. So you got to hold on to things when you walk down the halls. You're laying in bed, I hold on to the mattress, I'm afraid I'm going to get thrown off the bed. I don't get seasick. My wife doesn't get seasick, so we can handle it. But you can't handle getting thrown into the wall and stumbling, It's just not a lot of fun. It really isn't. And things get canceled because, the ship can take only so much wind. These cruise ships got 15, 20 decks above the waterline, and they can only handle so much wind. And if the wind is too strong, it can push the ship more than 45 degrees on its side, and then the ship goes into the water, and it's an abandoned ship. People die, all kinds of nightmares, okay? So they, cancel and skip it, just skip it, People cross the North Atlantic on a regular basis on cruise ships. Usually they're repositioning cruises where they move the ship from the Caribbean or from New York area or something over to Europe for the season. And you could get on these, they're usually 10, 14-day cruises. And literally you can at times book those for as little as $300, $400, $500, not a day for the whole trip, because nobody wants to take them, because they're rather boring, because the weather's not good, and you're out in rough seas again, not that rough, but rough. You're going to have, if you only got 10 or 12 foot waves, you're doing good. You're going to have 15, 20 foot waves, which are not that bad. They're bad, they're not that bad. And you going outside on the deck isn't going to be an enjoyable experience most of the days, So you're inside. What do people do when they're inside? They play card games, So you want to get on a cruise ship and play cards all day, or watch movies, or read a book, and not be outside in the sun, and, why? I don't know, People are, do weird things. What I'm hearing from people in America now in the Northeast is that they won't go outside with any jewelry on because they're scared. And I'm hearing it in the Beverly Hills area too. People won't go out wearing jewelry, like women diamond stud earrings, or golden diamond necklace or bracelet, or big rings with stones. They won't go. People are even telling me they won't even go with a friend who continues to wear such jewelry out in public. So the whole jewelry industry must be in the toilet. Years ago, in the, let's say around the very late 90s, gold was selling at about 200, 220 an ounce. Now it's 3,300 an ounce. You understand the difference, right? So you could buy, let's say you want to buy a woman a tennis bracelet, they called it. It has little cheap junky diamonds in it, like a quarter of a carat, or, they're not, and it had some gold, maybe it was $600, $800, $1,000. Something like that today with the gold in there, it's going to be, it's going to have at least an ounce and a half. It's going to be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, right? Guys used to buy, they called it a Cuba link necklace. This was popular back then, in the late 90s. They were pretty thick. This is a silver bracelet I got when silver was about $4 an ounce. They were usually not this thick, but close to it, right? And they didn't have a clasp on it because people could grab it and rip it off you because the clasp would break. So they would have no clasp, so you had to fit it over your head. So it was probably going to be at least 18 or 20 inches. So something like this is probably going to weigh 8 or 10 ounces, right? So let's say 10 ounces, right? So at 220, a necklace like this was probably going to cost you $2,500, $2,700, probably about $2,500. Okay, and it was a big honker. Okay, but today it costs you $30-something thousand. Who's going to buy it? Nobody. The people that have them, do they wear them? No, they're afraid to wear them. Who wants to run around with $30,000 of gold hanging around your neck? They're afraid. People used to buy these $20 gold pieces, the double eagle, and they'd put it in a frame that you screwed tight, and the frame would attach to the chain, and they would wear it with that. And then they also had a $50 Mexican, it had 8 sides to it, I think, or 6 sides. It wasn't round. It was a larger coin than the $20 double eagle. People would buy that and they'd put it on the gold necklaces. I used to go to the resorts in Florida and Disney and Universal, and I'd see people at the pool wearing stuff like this all the time. And they'd have a big bracelet of gold and stuff like that. But, a big bracelet, I mean, what does this thing have here in silver? It's probably maybe as much as 6 or 8 ounces. Maybe it's 8 ounces. So it's, $260, $270 worth of silver or something like that. Maybe it's $350 worth of silver. I don't know, something like that, right? But if it was gold, and people used to buy these things in gold, they probably still have them. And, you would probably use 14 karat gold because it was stronger. Something like that today would be, a $15,000, $20,000 bracelet, or $12,000, $15,000. Who's gonna buy that? And people with the watches, the fine watches generally come in gold or platinum with the bracelet. This is the bracelet. This is a cheapy stainless steel, the Chinese thing. But the bracelet would come in gold, white gold, yellow gold, rose gold, or platinum. And the bracelets would normally be 4 ounces of gold. well, of 18 karat gold, so that's like maybe 3 ounces times, so you got $10,000 of gold in there, you know. So what the people do is they want to buy the watches, the Patek Philippe or Audemars Piguet or Rolex or something. They want it in white gold or they want it in platinum so it looks like stainless steel so it doesn't get robbed. Okay? Or they'll buy it in a white gold or a platinum and have it on a leather strap, which they don't always make that many models with leather straps. It's not common. So they put it on, some of them you can get, they put it on a leather strap so it doesn't look like it's that valuable, you know. Then you got idiot watches that, like there's some called Richard Mille. They're really large like this, and they got a curved thing that it's curved so it fits on your wrist. And these things are $250,000 to $2 million, and they're made out of carbon plastic basically. And people are actually dumb enough to buy these things, and they run around with it. They're afraid to buy it because somebody, you just put a gun on you in the street, just stick a gun in your ribs and say, "Don't get scared, don't move. I just want the watch. Now take it off, and I'll be gone. And take it off now, or I'll shoot you." And that's it. And they go away. So people are afraid to. So they got all this jewelry and they lock it up in the house, or they put it in the bank vault, and they don't know what to do with it anymore. They're that scared. So America is coming to its end, as you can tell. When the people are afraid to wear the jewelry. I don't know about on the cruise ships. It used to be on the cruise ships people would wear a lot of jewelry, but I haven't gone. Last time I went was about more than 15 years ago, so I don't know what they do now, but they used to wear jewelry. I don't know if they do anymore. They might be afraid to on the cruise ships. I don't have any idea. Uh, Probably some of them on the expensive cruise liners do. But, yeah, I mean, so you basically want to buy yourself a cheap watch, and, you could wear silver. They're not going to come after you for silver. It's not worth enough for them to bother with it. When they sell some stolen thing, they're going to get about 10%. So if they manage to get a watch off of some guy that's worth $250,000, which is easy to do with watches today, the guy's going to sell it for 20. He's going to get 25,000 for it, and the guy that's going to buy it is going to transport it to another country and sell it on an auction site or an eBay site, or he knows a dealer that deals in crooked, stolen watches in another country, and they'll sell it that way, you know. And if its trade value in America is $250,000, you'd probably let it go for 150, 180. I mean, it could blow up and come back to a stolen, but in another country, it probably wouldn't. People could, if it's a Patek Philippe or a Rolex, they could check with the headquarters in Switzerland and say, "I want to buy this watch and this is the serial number. Can you tell me if it's stolen?" But for them to get it on the stolen list probably takes 3 to 6 months, you know. Where this thing's going to move fast. Somebody's going to get it, and they're going to get on an airplane and fly to Asia or a Middle East country with it, and it's going to be gone in days. And that's that. And somebody will buy it. And if they send it in to Paddock or Rolex for service, they could have it confiscated. You never know. You know. So anyway, if you are interested in conducting spiritual warfare against your most disliked false ministry, you can toss them all their assistants and volunteers. You could toss, and then cancel and make null and void any witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments that this ministry ever did, that the person you're targeting ever did, or other people on their behalf ever did. All the witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments is null and void. What will that do? It'll pinch their economic pipeline. That's what they try to do to people like me. It'll pinch their economic pipeline because they routinely do witchcraft and spells, enchantments on people that follow them, that give them offerings or buy their books or DVDs or take their tours or whatever. So when you start canceling that, you mess them up. Now, what a lot of you don't understand is these people with websites with even as little as $250,000 people are making several $100,000 a year. Okay, some of them are taking in millions a year. They sell books, they sell DVDs, they sell seats at speaking engagements around the world, and they conduct tours like, let's go to the Mediterranean on a cruise and visit all the places Paul stopped at, right? They make a fortune on that cruise. They upgrade it to you, right? Or come to Israel and we'll tour Israel together. They make a fortune on this, okay? And they're doing all this stuff at the same time. People are sending them offerings. People are buying books, DVDs, music. A lot of them have music they'll sell you. People are paying extra to get to their Patreon where they got special videos, or they release the videos before they do the other stuff. They sell merchandise, clothing, hats, sweatshirts, right? And, you know, on top of all that, they get offerings from people too. So when you mess with their witchcraft spells and enchantments, their offerings go down. Then they got to start over again and redo all their spells and enchantments. Well, a week later, you come back in and do it again. And you'll ruin them. But you got to also be aware of the fact that time is so short. And you also have to be aware of the fact that a lot of them have made so much money. They're multimillionaires. I'm not kidding you, okay? They're multimillionaires, and they have a lot of money in reserve. They could go for years without running out of money. So don't think they're just going to shut down, okay? These people make a fortune. And you know, I'm talking about somebody with 250, 300,000, 400,000 followers in social media. But a lot of them have that many followers on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on several different platforms at the same time. You have no idea how much money these people are taking in. It's coming in millions a year. Now, you run into somebody who's got 2.5 or 3 million followers in a platform. if you check all their other platforms, they've got many millions of followers, and they're rolling it. They're millionaires. I'm telling you, they're millionaires. Okay? You're not going to know it. I mean, they don't have $100 million. They don't have private jets and, yachts and stuff like that, but they live pretty lavishly. And they reinvest in their ministry. They have lots of people. I always wanted to do this, but I could never get enough money over these years, was to have the videos made in different languages. Okay? I could never come up with enough money to do that. All right? Maybe the Lord didn't want it. But they do that. So they'll routinely, have their videos done in, languages where the people are likely to have money to give them, whatever languages that is. So I don't know, do they do Russian? Do they do French? Do they do German? Do they do Italian? Do they do Spanish? Do they do Portuguese? I don't know. I don't know what they do. Do they do Japanese? Do they do Korean? I have no idea. They probably try a lot of these languages, okay? Indian dialects, Telugu, and, and they try different languages, okay? And they see what comes in, And they're not necessarily looking for people that are going to give them, $900 a month or something like that. Their numbers are so big, people giving them $5 works. Okay? So when you hit them with the canceling, you toss them and then you cancel witchcraft spells, enchantments done by them or any other people on their behalf. You really mess with their cash flow. But don't think that they're going to cave in because these idiots got so much money. They're not likely to cave in anytime soon. Okay, this is going to take a long time for them to cave. But you just keep doing it, and you'll get them distraught and bewildered and frustrated and confused, and, they'll wonder what's going on, but they'll do everything they can to make you think that everything is the same, because that's their only defense, is to try to make you think it's not working, that your spiritual warfare is not working. That's why you're not going to see the demons throw people around and throw them on the ground and stuff like that where they come out of them, because they don't want to build your faith, okay? And that would build your faith, and that would encourage you to do more tossing. They want you to think it doesn't work, so they're just going to try to make it look like nothing happened. That's their only defense. And it's not much of a defense, is it? All right, let me see what's going on here. Yeah, I never saw the whales. That would be pretty cool. The penguins were cool. Well, we saw the penguins. You could get within 6 inches of the penguins. They're not afraid of people, but you weren't supposed to touch them. I think if you tried to touch them, they'd probably bite you or run away or something. Maybe the babies wouldn't, but I don't know. My dad is a seafaring man and says he would never take a cruise ever. Well, I guess it depends where you're taking the cruise. I took a lot of cruises in the Caribbean and Mexico area, and they're delightful. The water is beautiful. It's warm. I really enjoyed them. I mean, you don't even know that um, you're even on the water with these modern ships. It's that good. So, what we're looking for now is we're watching what the heck is going to happen um, with Iran. I don't know if Trump's got the guts to do anything about it. Right now, all he's doing is making believe there's going to be a nuclear treaty when they don't even have anything scheduled. So, how does, you know, Trump is failing. You have to understand, he's in a snare. Let me read you the he's in a snare passage, okay? It's Jeremiah, remember it, Jeremiah 50, verse 24. I'll read it to you. I don't know if I got it right. Let's see. Here it is. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babel, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. Does Trump want Israel to get all the land back? No. He doesn't even want us to have Gaza back. He wants it for himself. He has striven against the Lord. Now, some of you may not be aware of that. But then when you go to Isaiah 47, you see what appears to be the economy failing in America. Verse 1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Doesn't that sound like the economy's finished? Does to me. Sit on the ground, no more throne. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. So all of a sudden, like poor people, right? Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. That's because these people say they're one thing and they're something else. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee like a man. As for our Redeemer, think year of redemption, Jehovah of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. He never calls himself the Holy One of the church, does he? The word for Holy One is kadosh, it means holy. He's really saying the Holy of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Darkness means the grid's out, right? For thou shalt no more be called Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thy hand. Thou didst show them no mercy upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Well, that was probably the North American Indians, Trail of Tears, Indian Wars. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day, widow and loss of children. Widow is from married to the land gets destroyed, and children are the espots that serve the unclean spirits. But these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day. It's going to happen really suddenly. The loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection. For the multitude of thy sorceries, the whole country runs on witchcraft, and for the great abundance of thy enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Oh no, everything gets written in a book. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. They're Epstein, perverts. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. Well, Trump thinks he's it. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. That's the snare. You don't know it until you're trapped in it. And mischief evil shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thy enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Sorceries from thy youth, Ben Franklin, George Washington. Got it? If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. There's no witchcraft against Jehovah and Yeshua. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them, they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flames. They will not deliver themselves from the power of the flames. It's the fires that get them. I will kindle fires in and about your cities. That's in Jeremiah 50:51. And the survivalists are buying bullets and food and stuff like that. They don't go out and buy 30 fire extinguishers. From the power of the flame, there shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before. There'll be fires to burn them, but there's not going to be any fires in the house. They're going to be in darkness, like with Egypt. Possibly the two witnesses do this to them. I don't know for sure. Thus shall they be unto thee, with whom thou hast what? Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. They go back to the country they came from. The agricultural workers, it says in Jeremiah 50:51. So Trump is starting to ride the economic ship down into the ground, okay? Trump's in a snare. He's not going to believe he's in a snare. He thinks he's bright and brilliant, and he's trying to argue with God, mess with God. Okay, so he's in a snare, and he ain't going to get out of it. And let's see what happens with Iran. Because he's getting to his moment of truth. And if he just punks out, which he could do, Iran's going to go after America because they're going to say Trump is so weak, you know. Now, this thing going on with Elon Musk, that's going to encourage more the enemies of America to go after America because they see division and weakness here. And they're going to think if we push them and put them under more and more pressure, terrorism, for instance, sleeper agents say might blame it on Trump and try to get rid of Trump. A lot of these idiots like Iran would like to see Obama or Joe Biden like as president, you know. So we watch and we wait, and that's pretty much what I got for today. So please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing of our bodies. And pray for our finances, and pray for better videos, more insights into prophecy. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole. Keep praying for Shiloh the cat. Shiloh needs some more healing. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Please hit the thumbs up. That doesn't, but Tuesday, you won't even do that, huh? Golly. Okay, thankless job, huh? People won't even hit the thumbs up. Imagine that. All right, I'm out. Thanks, guys.